If you love me, please don't judge me. Got my hands tied, the power's above me. Don't shoot the messenger, I'm just a puppet here. If you wanna place blame, then look to the puppeteer. Family, fortune, envy, jealousy, privilege, passed on, legacy, secret, sabotage, borderline, felony, suicide, subtract, selfish, pedigree, yeah.
How's it going, everybody? It's C-RadTV back here in another video. So, of course, it's now time to continue on to What If NASCAR Had the F1 Points Format series. So, the last time in this series, we began Phase 3 of the What If series by taking a look at the ARCA West series. And we learned that in the 1960s, and we learned that in the 1960s, from 1964 to 1969. We learned in the ARCA West series that a couple things would have changed under the F1 Points format, but a few things stayed the same, and we had a couple championship battles go down to the wire. In the end, and in this part, we're going to continue on taking a look at the ARCA West series with the F1 Points format by taking a look at the 1970s. And in the 70s, this is when the series was predominantly called the Grand National West Series and then the Winston West Series. So we're going to take a look at the ARCA West series with the F1 Points format in the 70s and see what would have changed had they ran the F1 Points format and what would have stayed the same. So yeah, anyway, of course, on the screen here's the points format we're going to be using for this part. So yeah, the same points format we used in the last part. And of course, before we continue on, let me once again stress out that this is just a hypothetical scenario. I know everybody would have raced differently had they used the F1 Points format. This is just for fun. So now, with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. So the 1970 championship battle, it was mainly a three-man battle for the championship between Ray Elder, Jack McCoy, and Dick Bowen. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, late in the season, Dick Bowen would fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most, and he would be eliminated with around a race to go. So in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at San Gabriel, with Ray Elder entering with a 6-point lead over Jack McCoy. So Jack McCoy effectively needed to finish second or better, and needed Ray Elder to finish outside the points, while Ray just needed to stay close to Jack McCoy to win the title. In the season finale at San Gabriel, both Ray Elder and Jack McCoy ran up front for majority of the race. In the end, though, Ray Elder would end up going on to win the race, while Jack McCoy would end up finishing third. And Ray Elder's win in the season finale, that would be more than enough for Ray Elder to lock up the championship over McCoy by 11 points. So Ray Elder would still win the championship in 1970, and this would be Ray Elder's second championship under this format. So the 1971 season, it was all about Ray Elder. Ray Elder was just a class of the field in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody had an answer for Ray Elder in 1971. And Ray Elder, he would easily cruise to what would be his third championship under this format in 1971. So the 1972 season, it was all about Herschel McGriff. Like, Herschel was just a class of the field in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody had an answer for Herschel in 1972. And Herschel McGriff, he would easily go on and cruise to his first ARCA West championship in 1972. So the 1973 season, it was all about Jack McCoy. Like, Jack McCoy was just a class in the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. And Jack McCoy, he would easily go on and cruise to his second ARCA West championship in 1973. So, 1974, we would have a close three-man battle for the championship between Ray Elder, Jack McCoy, and Jimmy Insolo. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Very close championship bout. And in the end, this title fight would go all the way down to the season finale at Ontario Motor Speedway, with Jack McCoy entering the finale with a 3-point lead over Jimmy Insolo and a 4-point lead over Ray Elder. So, Ray Elder needed to finish a couple spots ahead of McCoy in the points. McCoy pretty much needed to finish outside the points to have a shot, for everyone else to have a shot. I think Ray Elder needed to finish at least second or better. Jimmy Insolo needed to finish third or better, with McCoy finishing out of points. McCoy just needed to stay close to both of them to lock up the title. In the season finale at Ontario Speedway, all three the ARCA West field ended up sharing the field with the Cup Series field in that race. So the race was dominated by Cup drivers. And in the end, in a very anticlimactic title fight between those three would finish outside the points, since they're little pony cars going up against the Cup cars, which have a lot more horsepower. So with all three finishing outside the top 6 and not scoring any points in the finale, it meant that Jack McCoy would win the 1974 championship by 3 points over Jimmy Insolo and 4 over Ray Elder. So Jack McCoy would win his 3rd championship in 1974 and would go back-to-back in 1974 under this format. So the 1975 season, it was all about Ray Elder. Like, Ray Elder was the class of the field in terms of speed and consistency all year. Like, nobody had an answer for him. And Ray Elder, he would go on and easily cruise to his 4th ARCA West championship in 1975. So the 1976 season, we would have a 3-man battle for the championship between Chuck Bowen, Ernie Sturley, and Gary Johnson. Those three were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. In the end, though, Gary Johnson would fail to be consistent in key moments of the year when it mattered the most, and he would be eliminated with around a couple races to go. So in the end, the championship would go all the way down to the season finale at Ontario Speedway, with Chuck Bowen entering with a 5-point lead over Ernie Sturley. So Ernie needed to finish second or better and needed Chuck to finish outside the points to have a shot at the championship, while Chuck Bowen just needed to stay close to Ernie to win the title. And of course, in this season finale, like 1974, this race would see the Winston West Series compete alongside the Cup Series in this race. So the Cup drivers completely dominated the season finale at Ontario, which meant that in another very anticlimactic championship, Chuck Bowen and Ernie Sturley would not come close to finishing in the top 6, as it was, of course, like I mentioned, the race was dominated by Cup guys. So Chuck Bowen would end up easily winning the 1976 championship over Ernie by default by 5 points. So Chuck Bowen would still win the title in 1976. So the 1977 season, it was all about Bill Schmidt. Bill Schmidt was just the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Despite some good efforts from Chuck Bowen, though, it still wasn't enough for him to keep up with Bill Schmidt. And Bill Schmidt would easily end up cruising to the 1977 championship. And this will be Schmidt's first championship. So the 1978 season, it was all about Jimmy Insolo. Like, Jimmy was just the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. Like, nobody had an answer for Jimmy in 1978. And Jimmy Insolo, he would easily go on and cruise to the 1978 ARCA West Championship. So for the 1979 season, we would have a very close two-man battle for the championship between Bill Schmidt and Jimmy Insolo. Those two were the class of the field all year in terms of speed and consistency. It was a very close championship battle that in the end, the title fight would go all the way down to the season finale at Phoenix Raceway, with Bill Schmidt entering with a 4-point lead over Jimmy Insolo. So Jimmy would need to finish second or better and would need Bill Schmidt to finish outside the points to have a shot at the championship, while Bill Schmidt just need to either finish sixth or stay close to Jimmy Insolo to win the title. In the end, in the season finale, neither of those two would even finish in the top six and not score points, so it was a very anticlimactic finale. It was a finale to where Jimmy Insolo, he would end up DNFing and finishing dead last 2 laps into the race after blowing an oil line, which meant that Bill Schmidt would end up winning the championship by default by 4 points. So Bill Schmidt, he would end up winning the championship in 1979, and this would be his second championship, ARCA West championship, that is. So anyway, that's going to wrap it up here for this part of the What If NASCAR Had F1 Points format series. So there were quite a couple changes in the 1970s, but a few things stayed the same. Like for this part, in terms of championship battles that went down to the season finale, we had 4 championship battles go down to the finale, with 3 being very anticlimactic and being pretty much decided the race prior, since neither of the championship contenders scored points in 3 of the 4 finales. And then, of course, of the seasons we went through in the 1970s under this format, we would have 2 title changes under this format, and those being 1972 and 1974. And the championship battles that went down to the finale were 1970, 1974, 1976, and 1979. So yeah, so far under the points format in the ARCA West series, we've had a total of 5 title changes at this point. And we've had 7 championship battles go down to the finale. So a couple things changed in the 70s, but mostly it stayed the same for the most part. So that's going to wrap it up for this part. The next part is What If series. We'll be looking at the ARCA. We're going to continue looking at the ARCA West series and move it to the 1980s, where it was still the Winston West series at that time. So yeah, next time we're looking at ARCA West in the 1980s to see what would have changed and what would have stayed the same if they used the F1 points format. So yeah, and that part it comes out depending on how fast I do my research for it. So yeah, anyway, that's going to wrap it up for this part. That's all I got to say. Hope everyone has a great day, and I'll see you on whatever I make next. Peace.